Rodgers gets the snap. Blitz is on. Rodgers scrambles left, winds up right. He's got Cobb at the 10 to the 5 to the end zone. Touchdown and a dagger. Oh my goodness. An NFC North Division Championship dagger.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Real Packers Talk, the podcast dedicated to everything green and gold. I am your host, Ethan Peltier, and I'm here to wish Packer Nation a happy Victory Monday. Packers hold on in overtime against the Patriots, 27-24, in what was a nail-biter of a game. Honestly, it was way too close for my liking, way too close for comfort, but we made it out. Packers secured the W, and if you ask me, a win is a win no matter how you get it, especially early in the season, so I'll take it. Obviously, going into this game, we knew that the Patriots were going to be without their starter, Mac Jones. They went in with Brian Hoyer starting, and literally on the second possession that the Patriots had, he went down with a concussion. So basically, their third-string quarterback, Bailey Zappe, played most of this game. And before I get into the stats, before I get into my analysis and all that, I just want to say you got to give Bill Belichick, the Patriots, and Bailey Zappe a ton of credit for what they were able to accomplish on the fly. They had a lot of things going against them, a lot of adversity going into this game. So the fact that they were able to make it competitive, like I said, you have to give major props. They are a well-coached football team. Going in, I didn't expect it to be as close as it was, but I definitely didn't expect a blowout. So Belichick did a good job of getting his guys prepared for this week, and like I said, just have to mention that before I jump into the stats. Additionally, I want to mention that the Packers are in a good spot right now. 3-1 at this point in the season is not a bad place to be. Obviously, we would have liked to win that first week against Minnesota, but it didn't happen. All things considered, the fact that they went to Tampa Bay and stole a victory last week, and then today they held on, even with all the circumstances, even with, the fact that they're playing a third-string quarterback, they still won. I'm not as concerned with how they're winning games right now as I will be later on. The games in December and January, assuming that the Packers are playing in January, which I expect them to, are going to matter a lot more than right now. Right now, all that matters is they're winning games, and they're putting themselves in a good position later down the road for home field advantage in the playoffs and things of that nature. So before all of us Packers fans start freaking out and losing our minds because we barely beat a third-string quarterback, let's take a deep breath, let's assess the situation, and let's understand that this team is going to go through a lot of growing pains. This is not going to be the final product that they're putting out. At least I hope not. I don't expect this to be the final product. I expect this team to get better as the weeks continue to go on, as the rookies begin to get more experienced and get a little bit more polished. There are going to be changes that are made. So let's not lose our minds right now, okay? With that, I want to jump into the stats, and I'm going to start with New England first. As I mentioned earlier, you have to give a ton of credit to the Patriots, especially Bailey Zappe, Bailey Zappe, I believe, is how you pronounce his last name. He got thrown into a game that, there's a lot of adversity that he won against, and honestly, he played all right. His final stat line ended up being 10 for 15 for 99 yards and a touchdown. Both the Patriots running backs, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, had pretty good games. Harris went 18 for 86 and a touchdown, and Stevenson had 14 carries for 66 yards. So the Patriots went in with a game plan that they were going to run the ball, and they did just that. It surprises me that the Packers didn't make a lot of defensive adjustments to stop it, especially considering that they were going against first a backup quarterback and then the backup to the backup. But I digress. Lastly, I want to give credit to Jack Jones, the cornerback for the Patriots, who had a pick six on Aaron Rodgers right before the half. That gave them a ton of momentum. It really changed the whole dynamic of the game. He also forced a fumble on Romeo Doubs early in the game, so he, I believe, is a rookie. He's going to have a pretty nice career in New England based on the performance that he had yesterday. To the Patriots fans out there, if any Patriots fans do happen to listen to this podcast, I do think that you guys are going to be okay. I saw a lot of promise from your team yesterday. Moving on to the Packers, Aaron Rodgers went 21 for 35, throwing for 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick six, which that pick six was really, really bad. It's one of the worst interceptions I've seen Aaron Rodgers throw in his entire career. And like I said earlier, it completely changed the dynamic of the game. It was right before halftime. The Packers were in a position where it looks like they were going to try and drive down the field to maybe kick a field goal right before the half, but instead they threw the pick six, which made the score, instead of it being 3-7 going into halftime, it was 10-7 going into halftime for the Patriots. So just a really bad pick. You don't see that often. He honestly had a really rough first half, but he did pick it up as the game went on. Aaron Jones went 16 for 110 yards, so I don't understand why we don't keep feeding him the ball more. He seems to be the most productive player on our offense. Again, I digress. Allen Lazard went 6 for 116. Romeo Doubs had 5 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. He could have had a second touchdown, which probably would have sealed the deal at the end of the game, but he couldn't hold on to the ball through the ground popped it out. He couldn't hold it through all the way to the ground. It's tough to see, and you hope he can clean stuff like that up, because he clearly beat the cornerback on that play, and like I said earlier, that probably would have sealed the deal. Additionally, Rashawn Gary had a monster of a game. He had 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. He was all over the place. He had such a presence in this game, and the Packers definitely don't win without Rashawn Gary, so have to give props to him as well. Last week, I introduced a new segment called Player of the Week, where I highlighted a player on both sides of the ball. I've decided to kind of change it up, and I'm going to rename the segment Who's Hot and Who's Not. And basically I'm just going to highlight a few players on both sides of the ball, ones that I think had good performances and ones that I think didn't have such good performances. So starting off, Rashawn Gary had a hot performance. As I mentioned, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery. His presence was felt throughout the entire game. Allen Lazard, hot. Clearly our number 1 wide receiver. He has become the go-to guy when it comes to third down, and he's been productive, so you have to give him credit. Aaron Rodgers, not so much. This was a rough performance from Aaron Rodgers, and he'll be the first one to tell you that. If you go and watch his press conference right after the game, one of the very first things he says is, hey, I didn't play very well in the first half, and I own up to that. Additionally, Elton Jenkins really struggled today at right tackle. You have to think that there might be a plan to move him back inside to guard at some point if he continues to struggle. Matthew Judon it seemed like he was struggling with Judon all game long. Now, Aaron Rodgers was only sacked once, but the fact that he was pressured so much and the fact that the Patriots front 7 picked on Jenkins all game, unfortunately I had to give him the not designation, so to speak. But yeah, that wraps it up for who's hot, who's not. It's just something new that I wanted to try out. If you guys wanted to let me know what you thought about that section, I'll continue to roll with that moving forward. But now that I've run through some of the key statistics and some analysis as far as individual players go, I just wanted to share my final game notes. Adrian Amos went out early. I believe it was the first or second possession that the Patriots had. He came up and made a tackle and was out for the rest of the game with a concussion, so that will be something to keep an eye on. Christian Watson scored his first NFL touchdown on run play, actually, so that was awesome to see. Definitely going to be a big confidence booster for him, I hope, and I also hope that we continue to utilize him, because he's a dynamic player, and I think that he has all the tools to become a star. He just needs to, let it polish and develop over time. Aaron Jones, I mentioned, had a great performance. I really hope that this is a sign that we're going to continue to just lean into the running game. If you watched the broadcast, you saw a lot of sets. They call it the pony formation, where they have both A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones lined up in the backfield with Aaron Rodgers. I really like that look because it gets your 2 best players, or at least 2 of your most productive players on offense on the field at the same time. You can move them around. You can try and confuse defenses. So I liked what I saw as far as the motion game. I do want us to kind of simplify this offense. It feels like we're a little too complicated as far as the offense goes. It feels like we're beating ourselves more often than not. Because I can't tell you how many times I was watching the game yesterday and I was literally like, just line up and run the ball. I know it's way easier said than done, but it seems to me that our two most productive players are going to be Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Why not lean into that? Just a thought. Yeah, that's about everything that I had for this game. I am happy that we won. I am a little nervous considering the circumstances in which we won, but hey, as I mentioned earlier, a W is a W. You will take it, and you will move forward, and you will get better. With that, I do want to lastly mention that I did start a Twitter. You can find me at Real Packers Talk. If you want to just hit me up to chat Packers football, I'd love to interact with anyone who happens to listen. It truly means so much that I can connect and interact with Packers fans around the world. I think that is really, really cool. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this episode up for today. You can find my podcast anywhere on Spotify, Anchor, and YouTube. I want to thank you all for listening. It truly means the world to me that there are people out here who would bother to listen to what I have to say about football. Truly, guys, I'm absolutely blown away by all the support that I've gotten thus far. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. With that, I'm going to leave y'all with the Go Pack Go. Peace.